what's up, everybody? Of course, good evening. Welcome back to another episode. I want to say, welcome back to another episode of the Victorious Ones podcast. I know it's been a long time coming. Of course, especially with the week out, and I want, of course, I'm your host, King Von Jr. You can follow me on social media on Twitter at 301 King Von Jr. And of course, you can follow the show's Twitter page at Victory Pod 1. You can follow me on Instagram at Mr. King Von Jr. You can follow the show's Instagram page at Victorious Ones Podcast. I'm also a social media producer for the unpopular views wrestling show Perfect Plex Talk Radio, which airs, of course, every Monday at 6 p.m. And so, so of course, first and foremost, I want to wish everyone a very, very happy Thanksgiving. And so, of course, I want to get that business out of the way. But of course, apologies for for not being on last week. It was a very eventful week last week, if you will. It was like my schedule was actually like loaded. So of course, now of course, like the weekend before last week. I of course went out to go see the Marvels, and I will say that it was a little bit better than what I expected. Now, did I go in there expecting it to be, Winter Soldier, Thor Ragnarok, Civil War, Black Panther, all that type of stuff, whatever you name it, Infinity War. Did I expect it to be on that level of those movies? Not at all. I did it out of support, because of the fact that, it's just facing, Marvel's definitely got its back against the wall, and so it's just like, so it's like now they're at panic mode, panic button mode. And so, and of course, like that, I think, especially with the cut scene, with the post credit scene that they showed, I think now there's time for them to press that panic button and unleash the heavy artillery, namely the X-Men, and but also like I seen, just other than the fact that like there's a lot of stuff that was kind of like kind of like all over the place, kind of like puzzle pieces all over the place, and so of course the action was what it's pretty good, was what it was. Some of the graphics were a little a little extra AI enhanced, if you will. And so at least I didn't really get the whole thing initially in terms of them constantly switching places and stuff like that in the beginning every time they use the powers. But but eventually they were all able to work together. And I would say that Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, was the one for me that was the MVP of the movie. You know what I mean? So I think she was the best part of the movie. But also, also on the bright side, at least it shows that the good side of media heroes, and it not being a toxic relationship or whatever. And the fact that Carol embraced Kamala. You know what I mean? And so as far as that, but and also like at least just to see Monica Rambeau, at least lost in another reality, but at least on the other end, you can see that the seeds are being planted for the X-Men. So there was a lot of like Kree, like it was very, very much, a lot of the Kree were involved. As a matter of fact, the main villain, was a member of the Kree army. So as far as that, but like I said, when it came to the movie, like I said, I didn't expect it to be, some of the greater movies like the ones that I mentioned before. But surprisingly, the box office numbers, it tanked. Like it definitely took a nosedive like a submarine into the ocean. Only 47 million, which was, like I said, beyond disappointing by Marvel standards. But at the same time, I think one of the things to sort of defend them, if you will, you can really defend the movie itself and just the Marvel state right now. But I guess, just sort of to give them credit, at least the benefit of the doubt, is the fact that there was something called a SAG after strike. You know what I mean? So we had an entire strike going on our hands, and so because of that, it was hard for them, to really promote the movie the way they needed to. So hence that is why it turned out the way it did. So what I mean. So if anything, that's the so if anything, I would say that this is sort of like the like I said, this is my comics section of the podcast. You know what I mean? So it's, because this podcast covers, as I always like to say in the intro, like when it comes to gaming, comics, sports, movies, inspiration. So this is part of that. And so of course, let me go ahead and just meant to give you the rundown ahead of time. Like I said, my rundown was of course my review of the Marvels, and also want to give a rundown of of my week last week in terms of Monday Night Raw. Also went to a Wizards game. You know what I mean? So if anything, I want to make sure at least to get that off at least to check that off my bucket list before the season ends. And so of course I certainly have my eyes on on games such as Spurs and Lakers. You know what I mean? So at least I want like I said, at least want to get at least want to check that off my season bucket list. You know what I mean? And so of course, for many of you that know, not only am I a huge wrestling fan, an NFL fan, I'm also a huge NBA fan as well. You know what I mean? So of course that's the reason, big reason why I wasn't available last week. And so of course, like I said, for me, like I said, just being in that environment was huge. You know what I mean? So it's nothing like like I said, one of those experience, like I said, especially over here at Capital One Arena in DC. Two experiences that are absolutely incredible. Like I said, there's nothing like when Monday Night Raw comes to town. There's nothing like nothing like an NBA game. Like a Wizards game. As far as that. So I definitely had to get those off the bucket list, and so of course I'm going to go into my review of Monday Night Raw a little bit later, and so of course like when I dive deeper into dive deeper into the body of into what's the body of the show, which is wrestling. Right, so I'm going to dive deeper, excuse me, into wrestling. Like wrestling pretty soon, and so like I said, I'm just giving a recap of of just this past week as well as a recap of the week in wrestling when it comes to Raw and SmackDown, and so of course. So of course, I'm gonna give a brief rundown of of course when it comes to NFL Week 11. I know I haven't really been doing a whole lot of recaps as much as I wanted to, but of course here are the scores. Of course, the Ravens beat the Bengals 34-20. The Browns beat the Steelers 13-10. The Dolphins beat the Raiders 20-13. Of course, the Lions defeat the Bears 31-26. Jags crushed the Titans 34-14. The Packers beat the Chargers 23-20. Of course, the Texans beat the Cardinals 21-16. Dallas Cowboys, of course, destroyed the Carolina Panthers 33-10. And I'm gonna give at least give a brief story about that because I was actually at the game. Of course, when that happened, of course, the Giants beat the Washington Commodores 31-19. San Francisco 49ers crushed the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 27-14. Buffalo Bills destroyed the New York Jets 32-6. I guess Josh Allen woke up. And of course, the Los Angeles Rams defeated the Seattle Seahawks. The Rams beat the Seahawks 17-16. Broncos beat the Vikings 21-20. And of course, the Eagles pulled out a miracle as they defeat the Chiefs on Monday Night Football in the Super Bowl rematch, 21-17. And of course, speaking of give a little NFL rundown, real quick before I get into wrestling. Of course, I had the privilege and honor to to actually travel to Charlotte with with a group of other Cowboys fans over the weekend. like so you just to enjoy the sights of Charlotte, and like of course leading into the game where the Cowboys played the Panthers, because the Cowboys were in town in Charlotte, and of course they destroyed the Panthers. So I was like, you know what, it was up to me to, if nothing else, I wanted to make sure not only was at the tailgate, but ultimately to be at the game. And so I was actually there in person to, to watch the Cowboys just annihilate the Panthers the way that they did. So like I said, that was just in other news. Like I said, as far as comics and NFL, sports news and whatever. And of course, I want to give a little update. I'm officially an owner of a PS5. I've officially ordered my PS5. It actually came in the mail. As a matter of fact, I received it was like on Monday, I believe. And yes, actually not, but I believe I actually have gotten the mail on Monday. And so, like I said, I'm absolutely proud to say that I have joined the PS5 club. And so, I'm not too sure what my first game is going to be. And I guess, based on some of the sales, it's probably going to lean towards maybe NBA 2K24. And not long after that, followed by Spider-Man 2. So, so if anything, that's what's on my itinerary right now when it comes to PS5. And so I'm gonna give a rundown, a review of it, at least like, for another show, for another episode. What I mean? So as far as that, like I said, that was, just to get that stuff out the way. But now, of course, moving on to, moving on to like the main focus of, of this podcast, which of course right now is wrestling. And so of course, of course, for those that may have been, for those that may have been asleep under a rock, Asuka and Kairi Sane have both joined the Damage Control Army. And like, Damage Control is absolutely loaded. They're unstoppable. They look like they can be very, very much unstoppable, especially with the women's champion, Io Sky. Pretty much as the face of, you could tell that, she's the face of the faction, right? And so, what I mean, but at the same time, it looks like seeds may be planted for them to turn on Bailey. You know what I mean? So that's what a lot of signs are being pointed to. And so, of course, I'm going to get into that, and at least get into that in a minute. That was, of course, like, the SmackDown, that didn't get to cover last week, but I don't want to make it sound like I'm just all over the place with this type of thing. But also, last Monday, I was at Monday Night Raw in DC, and of course, at Capital One, at Capital One Arena, and so of course, the DC audience never disappoints when it comes to Raw or SmackDown, and this night was, to me, was no different. Like I said, it's just nothing. It's nothing like the atmosphere. Nothing like being in that arena, and you could definitely tell, DC truly lends genuine support when it comes to wrestling. So I think that's a big reason why I will certainly be on the front line to, like I said, to be an advocate, to fight for, to lobby for, if I can, in terms of actually pay-per-views or PLEs, excuse me, being in DC. I'm very vocal about WrestleMania being in DC for one. Like I'm vocal about that. SummerSlam coming back to DC, Survivor Series especially being in DC, and of course, speaking of Survivor Series, congratulations to those that have gotten their credentials to fly to Chicago to go to Survivor Series. So congratulations to Janelle and Wilkins from Jobber Tears for going to Survivor Series. Congratulations to Stephanie Hardy of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast for going to Survivor Series. So as far as that, like I said, congratulations on them. Congratulations on them and others for receiving their credentials to be able to go. And so, of course, I want to get into the predictions and stuff a little bit later. But like I said, like I said, excuse me, just to give my recap of my experience of Monday Night Raw. Like I said, it was absolutely amazing. I was actually sitting on the side view, so from where I was, I could actually see them coming out of the curtain. You know what I mean? So, and of course, like I said, I was right there, with the pyro, like I said, like I said, just directly in front of me. And so, so as far as that, I know that I know last week for the planting more seeds for War Games, and of course, the biggest turn, the biggest plot twist of all last week was Drew McIntyre joining the Judgment Day, right? And so, so as far, like I said, so as far as that was that was the biggest surprise of them all. And also, of course, the stage being set for Rhea Ripley versus Zoe Stark, right? And so, so as far as that, not only that, but of course, Shinsuke Nakamura and Chad Gable had an incredible match as well themselves, and we saw the stage being set for Nia versus Raquel for the following week, right? And so, look, like I said, like I said, as far as that. Like I said, just like I said, just when it came to Monday Night Raw, they certainly didn't. Like I said, when it comes to DC, they never disappoint. Like I said, that's like I said, that's my perspective on it, and of course, I've certainly shared, certainly shared that experience on my IG stories and everything everywhere else on social media, and so like I said, like I said, DC is a great audience when it comes to Raw and when it comes to SmackDown. So, so if anything, I look forward to to the next time the SmackDown shows up in DC. You know what I mean? And so, so as far as that, of course, when it comes to NXT, we continue to see seeds being planted when it comes to the dissension between Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes. Especially with with the addition of Lexis King being in the storyline, but also I feel as though having Lexis involved kind of throws off the seriousness, if you will, of the matter. It's just like like I said, it's just like everybody has just this anticipation of a heel turn from somebody, but all of a sudden Lexis King just sticks his nose in everybody's business, and and as a matter of fact, Trick was was aiming to knock out Lexis, but Lexis ducked and Trick knocks out Mello, and so. Like I said, the seeds are being planted more and more. The flame is slowly starting to grow even more and more when it comes to, just when it comes to the eventual breakup. And of course, speaking of Trick and Mello, shout out to Stephanie Hardy for a great article that she wrote about Mello and Trick, right, and their eventual breakup. And once again, as I've always said, this is shades of SummerSlam 2002 with Triple H and Shawn Michaels, and you can even make a case to say there's also shades of when also shades of when Shawn Michaels turned on Diesel at, I want to say it was the 1994 Survivor Series, which of course set the stage for their eventual match at WrestleMania 11. But that's neither here nor there. But I'm just saying, like I said, like this storyline definitely has its parallels. And I also want to say that that Lash Legend has been improving and growing by leaps and bounds. Shout out to Black Wrestling, friends of the program, by the way. Shout out to them for the interview with Lash Legend, and like I said, they're absolutely knocking out the park with these interviews. And I look forward to whenever to the time comes when the door opens for them to eventually have Trick as a guest on there. But like I said, like I said, when it comes to Lash Legend, she has certainly been, like I said, is certainly improving, and like I said, so, like I said, as far as that, like I said, she's certainly been improving in more ways than one, and she's absolutely embracing um, this powerhouse role. Like, as a matter of fact, she calls herself the bougie bully. You know what I mean? She's bougie, but also is a bully, especially when it comes to just, like I said, just being a powerhouse in the ring. You know what I mean? So it's just like I said, I feel as though she's really stepping into her element, and now she's going to be at NXT Deadline, right? And so, you know what I mean? So of course, I look forward to that, and and all the things that she's also doing in Metaphor, you know, and also, like I said, especially when it came to last night's NXT, the comedy element of that, like I said, as far as her gets slapped and then falling into Otis's arms, I was like, that is perfect comedic timing. That was epic. That was hilarious. You know, what I mean, that's what this whole sports and entertainment thing is all about. And of course, Chad Gable and Noam Dar had a like I said, had an incredible match. It was an absolute banger, and Noam Dar and Noam Dar goes on to win. And so so of course, as far as that, and then Mello is, as a matter of fact, he's got. It seems so. As a matter of fact, as a matter of fact, Mello has another shot at the NXT Championship, and so what I mean. So as far as that, and like so, like I said, I'm looking to see, like I said, what other elements of surprise they're going to have when it comes to, like I said, this Trick and Mello storyline. And of course, as I've said it before in this podcast, thank you very much to Shawn Michaels for his direction, for his, like I said, for his wisdom and his leadership when it comes to these storylines, when it comes to putting together these matches, with the quality of matches, that NXT has produced, with the quality of storylines that NXT has produced. It certainly has HBK's name written all over. And what I mean, so like I said, as far as that, and also in the land of SmackDown, as we've seen this past Friday, Team Bianca, or Team Charlotte, whoever you want to call it, as captain, they have added, like I said, they've added to their army, and so Charlotte was making a call to a certain old friend, and that friend ended up being Becky Lynch, right? And so initially, I was thinking to myself, I mean, Jade Cargill's right there, like, you signed her, for a reason. You know what I mean? Like you put up all this money to get her in WWE for a reason. So I'm like, okay, like, what are we doing here? What are we waiting for? Even though I've had people tell me, like, like, relax, relax, fine, just let it cook, right? Just let it cook. Let's just see what happens. And so right now, I'm just gonna sit there and let it cook. I'm definitely gonna let this story cook, much like tomorrow's Thanksgiving dinner, by the way. But yeah, but like I said, it's like I said, I'm certainly intrigued, to just see how things play out when it comes to Jade, and but of course, on the flip side, as far as, like, like when it comes to the women's WarGames match, it's going to be 4-on-4. And so I've always wondered why it's always just 4-on-4 when it comes to the women. I mean, for me, I wish it'd be 5-on-5. I guess especially if you could get Dakota clear, so that way that'll leave room for Jade to be the fifth woman in that match. But that's just me, right? I guess because I'm such a like such an enthusiast when it comes to the big four, when it comes to, when it comes to just, like I said, when it comes to just having the best of the best at each big four pay-per-view. But, but it was, but of course, on the other end, at least you can see that, you can see that Charlotte and Becky are at least on better terms than what they were before, because like 2 years ago, like I said, it looked as if that they would never speak to each other again, especially with that, especially on SmackDown with that title switch and just how they just threw the belts at each other and all this other stuff like that. And so I was thinking that that was like at the point of no return, as as a matter of fact, I remember Charlotte was on Stone Cold's podcast and talking about that, right? And so fast forward 2 years later, at least they're back on some type of speaking terms, and at least back side by side for a common goal, a common purpose, a common enemy, if you will. You know what I mean? And so so as far as that, so of course we have Charlotte, Bianca, Becky, and Shotzi versus Damage Control, featuring Bayley, Io, Asuka, and now Kairi Sane. And so so of course I'm certainly gonna give my like I said, give my prediction of that match over time, as as I get into my into the predictions part of this episode. Of course that's the main thing. And of course that's the main focus of this episode in regards to Survivor Series. I mean, that's the WrestleMania of the fall, basically, if you will. And so so of course, as far as that, and then also, so I'm sorry about that, but I saw this, but also on Raw, we got to see Nia versus Raquel, and when I say that, they were certainly cooking in that match. They were definitely cooking. I was like, oh yeah, I was, I was pleasantly surprised, very much impressed with the way, like I said, with the way that match went. With just like I said, just when it comes when it came to sequence, when it, like I said, when it came to, to, I know I use this word a whole lot, especially when it comes to powerhouses. I mean, like in terms of that, like I said, just like I said, you're just pretty even, somewhat. Like I said, certainly, certainly when it comes to height, like I said, they're both, like I said, they're both powerful, they're both strong. Nia has certainly, lost a number of pounds, so she's able to move a little bit faster. She's she's a little bit more agile on her feet and things like that. And also she implemented the bonsai drop. And just as Raquel was trying to give her the power bomb, Nia just fell on her. You know what I mean? And eventually finished her off with the bonsai drop for the win, right? And so, and of course that, and also we see things heating up between Miz and Gunther. As a matter of fact, Miz is Gunther's next challenger for the, for the prestigious Intercontinental Championship. Now that, especially with Gunther being the longest reigning IC champion of all time, off of just one reign, right? And so he's got the longest single reign in WWE history for the IC title. And so of course we definitely see this huge face turn for the Miz, a guy who's like a guy who is a natural heel, a guy who is a natural antagonist, a guy who is a natural agitator, a guy who is who naturally knows how to get under people's skin, right? But now the tables have turned. You know what I mean? So of course now Gunther has become the bully. You know what I mean? And now Gunther makes fun of Miz for being a fan growing up, and calling Miz a weirdo and stuff like that, and treating Miz like he's some sort of like nerd and all that other type of stuff like that. And so it was, so it was very surprising to see Miz in that position like that. You know, what I mean, it's it's as far as being a more sympathetic figure. But WWE is doing a great job of making someone who's naturally not a sympathetic figure more sympathetic. You know, and so it was, I mean, so as far as Gunther, just embracing this this bully role that he's in now, and we can certainly see dissension within Imperium itself. And so I know I'm certainly going to give my predictions of that match as we go into as we get closer to the predictions of WarGames. And so the main focus this past Monday on Raw was about Cody finding a fifth member of his team for WarGames to go up against the Judgment Day. And so he made a call to an old friend, which we'll certainly get into a little bit later. So as far as that, so as far as that was very intriguing. And of course I'm going to get into the reveal in a minute, but also but also see Drew McIntyre just embrace that heel side and talk about how there how people had turned on him, and how he felt underappreciated, how he was just bitter about the fact that his biggest moment, his crowning achievement, was in front of no fans. And this is also his revenge. This is also Drew's revenge against Jey Uso. And like this was his revenge against Jey for costing him the chance to become the WWE champion back when Jey was with the Bloodline, even though the Usos were not in Scotland at all. During Clash of the Castle, as a matter of fact, that was Solo's debut that night. But at the same time, Jey certainly has his fair share of targets on his back, whether it was from Drew McIntyre, and many others. And so the main focus, of course, was Cody's reveal, and how he was throwing clues out there, talking about calling an old friend who he has a legacy with, talking about hearing voices. And he was like, you know what? I'm just going to let the fans, announce the reveal. And all the fans, and of course, the fans chanted Randy, chanted Randy, just kept saying Randy Orton's name. And so Cody was like, the fans are right. So he went. So if anything, Cody did a roundabout and without ever mentioning Randy Orton's name, but he was still referring to Randy Orton this whole time, And so I know that there have been people who have who made their own predictions as to who would be the fifth man. Most notably, LA Knight, and people were like I said, people were getting their hopes up for the element surprise of of course Chicago's very own Phil Brooks, aka CM Punk, Chicago made Punk, if you will, aka Pepsi Phil, Problematic Phil, things like that. And so I like how WWE handled this reveal, so that they would not have to worry about getting hijacked by the Chicago fans, who would have been jaded by CM Punk not showing up, right? And so so of course, I know that there were a lot of people who wanted to see Punk show up at Survivor Series because it's in Chicago, and they would have, I guess want to make up these little fantasy scenarios, dream scenarios of Punk calling out Roman and probably standing face to face with him and things like that. Even though Roman's not going to be at War Games this year, it's already been confirmed that that he's not going to make he's not going to have any more matches or appearances for the rest of the year, just so that he can have a fresh new start for 2024. But that's neither here nor there. I know that there were a lot of people online who had speculations about Punk, mainly because it was in Chicago. But at the same time, it's just like, do you really want to add that type of turmoil to a roster that is fairly drama free right now? Morale is certainly very high within the locker room, amongst each other and things like that. You could certainly tell on TV. So if the morale has been boosted, why bring someone as toxic, as problematic as Phil, someone who is a habitual line stepper, someone who's an habitual bridge burner, right? You know what I mean? Like, Punk not only burns bridges, but he blows them up. So why would anyone in their right mind, why would anyone with half a brain even want to see Punk show up and just ignite even more drama? Him getting fired is just way too recent, and I know there are people who, like I said, who still remember when Punk was standing outside of the arena last time WWE was in Chicago, and how he was trying to use WWE as leverage against AEW and stuff like that. And of course, the thing is, Punk himself, I figure he would know that he's got enemies all within WWE. You know what I mean? Like it just, like I said, he just has so many targets aimed at him, right? Or not so many targets, but it's just like he just has like so many guns aimed at him right now in WWE. You know what I mean? Like, he has multiple targets on his chest, multiple targets on his back, right? And, because he's rubbed so many people the wrong way. And I don't want to keep diving into or delving into this topic about CM Punk. But like I said, I'm just making my point is that there was no way in the world for anyone to realistically expect Punk to show up. Certainly not this soon, right? And also, one of the things you have to consider when it comes to somebody like Punk is that it's just like he has been so toxic, and he has just drained morale at every other place, wherever he's gone, right? So why would you add that, unstable element, disruptive element to the locker room, right? So that would not have been wise. LA Knight, I get it that he's the flavor of the month right now, and he's a great, inspirational story for someone who's really hitting their stride in the early 40s, 41 to be exact for him. Like I said, just improvement that he's making. For someone at that stage of his career, I applaud him. Of course, he was in the main event of Crown Jewel with Roman Reigns, but he's not someone that I would have picked to be the fifth man of Survivor Series, especially considering the fact that we waited so long for Orton to show up. We waited so long for Orton, like we waited so long for Orton to make his return. The fact that he's been away from a WWE ring in more than a year, since like May of 2022, and so which one would you rather have? The guy who's the flavor of the month versus someone who's a bona fide legend, first ballot Hall of Famer, someone that we've been waiting to see come back for the longest time, someone who's, who's battle tested, someone who is an extremely valuable asset, someone who, like I said, who has incredible credentials, someone who has great history when it comes to Survivor Series, right? And so, why would you sacrifice that for someone who's just gotten hot right now? Because I know a lot of people. Yeah, I'm agree with one of Perfect Plex co-host Mike Knox about this, but there are a lot of people, even though there are those who have followed LA Knight since since his days of Eli Drake, but when he was the manager for, was it Maximum Male Models or something, was anybody checking for him then? I don't think so. You know, um, it's just like when he was even on NXT, was anybody really checking for him like that the way they are now? I don't really think so. Um, but of course, but of course, congratulations to him for hitting his stride, for really just just finding his element and what works best for him, right? But at the same time, we're talking about Survivor Series. We're talking about selling tickets. We're talking about moving the needle. And would you rather have LA Knight or Randy Orton? Anybody with a half a brain will pick Randy Orton. You know, just because of because of Orton's popularity, his longevity, like his credentials, what he's like, so, what he's accomplished. Like I said, his body of work speaks volumes. A 14-time world champion, a former Intercontinental champion, one of the more underrated IC title reigns. You know, uh, and it's just like the list of his accolades goes on and on and on. And for him being out this long, like as a matter of fact, there was so many people. I'm pretty sure that they, like they're writing him off, thinking that his career was over and everything like that. And so, but of course, Cody, of course, the old friend that Cody was referring to, as I talked about, as I said earlier, was Randy Orton. And so Randy is a huge addition. He's a vital addition to that team. So I know for me, I'm looking forward to him hitting RKO, preferably on Rhea Ripley, but because they are inside of, they're in the confines of, of the war games cage. I certainly want to see him give JD McBobblehead, an RKO, right? But I say all that to say that Randy Orton, of course, not only that, but also want to say that of course of course, if I'm Jey Uso, I would certainly have to watch my back at all times. If I'm Jey Uso, I might as well have. Might as well have another set of eyes back here. Might as well have two extra eyes in the back of my head. You know what I mean? As far as that, especially, especially considering that considering that Orton's memory is certainly very sharp. He's never going to forget that. He's never going to forget that the way that Jay and his brother Jimmy put Orton out and put him on the sidelines. So you already know that this is going to be an uncomfortable situation. This is definitely going to be this will certainly be a powder keg waiting to explode if they're not careful. But once again, like I say, because of the fact that the Judgment Day added Drew, it's just like, what? Let's go and even things up. Let's unleash our secret weapon, which is none other than Randy Orton himself. And what's really important about Orton is that when it comes, as I was saying before, when it comes to Survivor Series, he elevates his game unlike few others could, right? So I would say that Orton is to Survivor Series. You can make a case to say with Shawn Michaels is to WrestleMania, if not what Undertaker is to WrestleMania, right? So with Orton's experience at a show like that, it's like I said, is very crucial. And now that Orton is part of a WarGames match, something that he has never been a part of. Like I said, I'm excited to see how he's gonna perform. Um, and so he's someone that I've been like I said, I've been waiting to see return for the longest time because of what Randy Orton has always brought to the table, right? And so for that void to be left was devastating for me. I know it was devastating for a lot of other fans as well, right? And what I mean? So like I said, like I said, like I said, the Viper is back, and he is certainly ready to strike, you know, and so I'm also intrigued to see how they work around certain weaknesses, certain limitations um, that he has now. But I trust that so I trust that that things will be handled properly when it comes to Randy Orton. You know what I mean? And so as a matter of fact, other than sorry about that, like I said, like I said, for me, um, like I said, because the fact that Randy Orton's longevity speaks for itself. So he's been a very valuable player in WWE. Like I said, what I mean, and so it's just like he's battle tested, and so anytime, like I said, anytime Survivor Series shows up, whether it's the 5-on-5 or whether it is the Elimination Chamber, what I mean, it's just like I firmly believe that Orton will not disappoint, and so side note, I also want to, like I said, I also want to say that that as of today, it's been 33 years since the debut of the Phenom himself, the Undertaker. And I would say this before the streak took place. Undertaker was at his best at Survivor Series. And so so of course Survivor Series was the initial launching pad of the Phenom. But later on, of course, later on, WrestleMania is where Taker has thrived the absolute most. And so now Randy Orton has taken on that mantle of Mr. Survivor Series, and so so as far as that, I certainly look forward to seeing the type of impact that Orton is going to make for this team. And so I know, like, so as far as that, I'm going to go into my preview, if you will, of this year's Survivor Series. I'm going to give, as a matter of fact, I'm going to give my preview and predictions for this year's Survivor Series. So, of course, for the Intercontinental Championship, we have Gunther versus The Miz. For the for the Women's World Championship, we have Rhea Ripley versus Zoe Starks. For the Men's War Game match, we have Cody Rhodes, Seth freaking Rollins, Jey Uso, who's not really looking like a main event right now, Sami Zayn, and the Viper, Randall Keith Orton. Taking on the Judgment Day consists of Damian Priest, Finn Balor, Dirty Dom Mysterio, and JD McDonough, as well as Drew McIntyre in the men's War Games match. In the women's War Games match, instead of 5-on-5, we're going to have 4-on-4, where we have Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, and Shotzi and Becky Lynch versus Damage Control featuring Bayley, Asuka, Io Sky, and Kairi Sane. And of course, we also have a singles match with Carlito versus Santos Escobar. And Santos has come a very long way. He has improved by leaps and bounds. And of course, this past Friday, he even had the suit, same kind of suit that Tony Montana wore in Scarface. I was like, yeah, this is homage times 10. Like, that was absolutely phenomenal. And so Now it's time for me to go into my predictions. So for the Intercontinental Championship match, sorry, Miz, but Gunther is going to win that. Gunther is going to add Miz as another notch on his belt. You know, as a matter of fact, Gunther is going to chop Miz into oblivion at this point. So Gunther retains the Intercontinental Championship. We have Rhea Ripley versus Zoe Stark, and so I see Rhea retaining the Women's World Championship. It looks great on her anyway. You know what I mean? So of course, Rhea is like Rhea is going to be the upcoming guest. So I have her defeating Zoe Stark, and I mean I know this match is not going to be a slouch at all. So when it comes to Carlito versus Santos Escobar, Santos has got to win, and this certainly be like sort of like a pass of the torch kind of thing going on, you know. And so of course, like I said, Escobar is definitely going to pick up the W because if he loses to Carlito, all the work that they put in to make him look better would be, it would certainly be flushed down the drain. So with that being said, Santos has got to get a win over someone like Carlito. So I'm picking Santos Escobar to win. Now, when it comes to the WarGames matches, the women's WarGames match, as I said before, Bianca, Charlotte, Shotzi, and Becky versus Damage Control with Bayley, Asuka, Io, and Kairi Sane. So right off the bat, I'm going to say that Damage Control wins, because they're still riding on that cloud of momentum. I can tell they're certainly, certainly flying high on that, on that cloud of momentum, especially since they picked up Kairi Sane and Asuka. So there's no way that I see them taking an L, especially after acquiring those two. You know what I mean? So I know that it's definitely going to tear the house down when it comes to that. And so, of course, the great thing that I've been looking forward to. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go back with the women's WarGames match. As a matter of fact, on Monday on Perfect Plex, we're also doing, like I said, when it comes to Perfect Plex, we're also doing predictions. And so, my prediction is that Asuka is going to end up pinning Shotzi. If not her, then I would see Io doing it. Of course, for Team Damage Control to win. So I see Team Damage Control winning this women's WarGames match. And of course, last but not least, is the men's WarGames match, which is the 5-on-5, consisting of Cody Rhodes, Seth freaking Rollins, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, and of course Randy Orton, the returning Randy Orton, versus Judgment Day, consists of Damon Priest, Finn Balor, Dirty Dominic Mysterio, and JD McDonough, of course, featuring Drew McIntyre. So I have Team Viper winning because I don't see Orton making this comeback only for him to lose on his first night back. So with that being said, Team Viper, as I call them, pick up the win when it comes to this. And so so as far as that, I certainly look forward to, as I've said before, I'm very much excited for Survivor Series. I'm excited to see the WarGames continue, and it was great to see Cody Rhodes on the poster for WarGames wearing the camouflage face paint, because now he gets to be in the very main event spot that his dad was in, And as a matter of fact, not main event, excuse me. Dusty invented WarGames, so it feels, here's what I'm going to say, it feels very full circle for Cody to be on, for Cody to be on a poster of a pay-per-view that his dad created, which is none other than WarGames. So for Cody to be in a match that his dad made famous, that's absolute honor, you know. And so yes, so as far as that, those are my previews. Not my previews, but those are my predictions. Those are my predictions when it comes to Survivor Series War Games. And this is a show that I can never, ever, 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 ever afford to miss whatsoever. You know, and I know next week I'm going to give my recap of War Games. You know, and I know it's definitely going to be very, very exciting. You know, just as excited as I am for Randy Orton's return, and you know, man, even though he didn't show up last night, but the fact that his name was hinted anyway, you know, it's just like, you know, what I mean, it's 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 I mean, what else can I really say at this point? But yeah, like I said, when it comes to War Games, excuse the expression, but I'm all game. You know what I mean? And so you know, that pretty much does it for the predictions. Which was the main focal point of this podcast episode. So, with that being said, without further ado, thank you for those that have thank you for those that have tuned in, for those watching by way of YouTube, for those watching by way of of the podcast Facebook page, you know what I mean, and those in the future who will be listening by way of iTunes, Spotify, or any other place that you download podcasts. You know, with that being said, I certainly want to thank those who've taken out the time to watch my episodes week after week after week. You know, and I know this holiday is definitely gonna be very exciting. And also I want to say for those that are watching by way of youtube.com/@VonRestVirginia. Currently, I'm at 59 subscribers, but I certainly believe that that those numbers will continue to rise and continue to escalate, right? And so, you know, so of course, with that being said, it's not much to really say or think about at this point, other than I wish everyone a very happy and prosperous and incredible Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? Like, like I said, just eat like kings. You know, eat like kings and queens, if you will. Like I say, just enjoy this day that lies ahead of us tomorrow. I know, like I said, I know there's going to be plenty of football. You know, plenty of food, especially. You know, and it's definitely going to be an incredible time, an amazing time, and I cannot wait. So once again, thank you very much for tuning in. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the rest of your night and enjoy your weekend.